Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. And in this video, we're going to be talking about some college prospects that we really think deserve some attention. We know it's a long way until April. We've got more questions about these guys. But if you've got a problem with us talking about draft prospects, just come on, have some fun. I know it's like early, but we have some guys here that we have some thoughts about that we want to share. So never too early to start talking drafts, and I always have said that, so who'd like to start us off?
Well, first, before we start, by the way, we're excluding quarterbacks from this.
Oh, yeah, good point.
We've talked about the quarterbacks before, so we're not going to do that again. You can find that video somewhere on our channel. So if you're interested in what we had to say about that, go check that out. But with that being said, should I just start since I'm already talking?
There you go.
I was going to start. Okay. Jordan, we'll stick to tradition. You go. Okay, well, I'm just going to do one, then I have to run real quick, and then I'll come back with my other two.
Got a dip.
Yeah. But it won't be too long. Don't worry. I will be back. I know you guys are probably sitting in your seats screaming because you heard that, but don't worry. I will be back. Okay. Let's start. This one's going to be a simple one. It should be pretty fast because this player is currently not playing this season, and that is Ja'Marr Chase of LSU. The tape from last year really shows it all. Yeah, Joe Burrow at the helm. Played some really great football. Won the national championship. He put out quite a resume for himself. There was no need for him to play this year. And especially with this LSU team that we're struggling week 1, and then week 2 they did a little better. We're filming this a while in advance, so we don't know exactly what's happening, but it doesn't matter because he's not playing. We saw what happened with Ja'Marr Chase last year. He was phenomenal. He was keeping up with Justin Jefferson. We've seen what Justin Jefferson, by the way, is doing right now on the Minnesota Vikings. People were saying Ja'Marr Chase was better than Jefferson. He's just an all-around great player, a great wide receiver. And even though he's not playing, he's still going to be up there with some of the big names and possibly atop all the names at the wide receiver position come draft day.
Yeah, that was a good one that you mentioned there. I wish he was playing. He was playing for a while, but then he opted out kind of late. So that was disappointing because that team certainly could have used him.
Now it's my time.
All right, so you're going to go dip for a little bit, but
I'm back.
I'm staying with the receivers. I'm going to talk about a guy from Minnesota, Rashad Bateman. I mean, this is a guy that, even before I was formally scouting him and watching him for draft purposes.
Same here. I know what you're going to say. Same here.
Oh, yeah.
It just kind of caught your eye.
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah,
you really saw a lot of traits that you like. He was the guy for that team, and that team was a fairly young team. And he was young last year. He's only a junior right now, so he did not have the option to declare last year. But there's a lot to like with this guy on the field. Looking at his stats in college, you really see a lot of things that really just catch your eye. 60 catches last year, 19 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. So those are really things that stand out. And this draft class, like last year, is very, very good with receivers. You're going to see a lot of
not as
good, but look at the first two guys that we mentioned. They're receivers. Ja'Marr Chase is my number 1 receiver right now. Bateman is at number 2. Those things could change, of course, but looking at it, I just think this is really going to be another receiver-heavy year. So when you look at teams that have lackluster offenses this year, you really could see teams, get that receiver in the first round that they think is the guy. But when you look at Bateman, there's just so much to like, and I'm so glad he opted back in because he originally opted out when the Big Ten wasn't going to play in the fall, and then he opted back in. I was so excited to see that he was coming back because I really think he's so good as a player, but so good as really for that team. I think he's going to help that offense go to the next level. He was Tanner Morgan's go-to guy. So I really am excited to watch Rashad Bateman. I think he's a great, great player, and I think he's got that great catch radius, runs his routes well. And he's a guy that really, I think, is going to do good at the next level. So I'm excited to watch him, in his final college season. And then he'll be a first-round pick. I can almost guarantee it. So I'm excited to watch him this year. I think he's going to do great, and that team's going to do great. So, yeah, super excited he opted back in, and I'm looking forward to what's in this man's future.
Yeah,
so am I.
Oh, he's back. Do you even know who we're talking about?
No.
We're talking about Rashad Bateman.
Yeah.
And with Rashad Bateman, you mentioned a lot of things you like from him. But he is a guy I think that could go to any team and be a number 1 receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Very quickly. He's an underrated guy going to Minnesota. It's not the most highly sought-after school in terms of looking at draft prospects.
Yeah,
in terms of football.
Saw some good people out of Minnesota go into the NFL last year. Tyler, you saw it firsthand with your favorite guy in the draft class. Antoine Winfield going into the NFL, and he's playing pretty well thus far.
Rashad Bateman's got that amount of talent, just in a different category, because he plays receiver, and Antoine Winfield Jr. is safety. But that's not the point. Let's keep the receiver train going here. I'm going to talk about receiver from Alabama, one of the two really good ones I got. I'm talking about Devonta Smith, and this is no disrespect to Jalen Waddle. When I'm saying this, I think both of those guys are very good. But Devonta Smith now in his senior year, he could have gone into the NFL if he wanted to. Decided not to because he was playing behind some good receivers with Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy there. He didn't really want to take that chance, but now that they're gone, he's the number one guy, I feel like. I think he's got a great chance to prove that this year. We've already seen it so far into the 2020 season in terms of at least 2 games in the season, which is when we're making this video. He's got a touchdown already. And a lot of things you saw from Jerry Jeudy, their route running isn't as good. That's very tough to compare to, but he's quick off the line of scrimmage. He can go up and get the ball even though he's 6'1", which is not the tallest. But a lot of impressive things from my man Devonta Smith. I'm excited to see what he can do throughout the rest of the season and get ready for him draft day.
Yeah, and you were talking about Jalen Waddle. Last year we saw Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs have that great duo. Of course, Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith were both running there and playing phenomenal along with those other two. But now that they're gone, I think they have filled that role. I think that Devonta Smith is now in that Jerry Jeudy role, which he can do a lot. He's fast. He can get down the field. He can do it all. And then Jalen Waddle, he can do a lot too, but he also plays special teams, and he's also just a really fast guy. He takes place of that Henry Ruggs spot.
All right, we'll just go back around and let's do a little bit more open conversation with these guys because this is a guy we're all very familiar with, who I'm going to talk about, running back from Clemson, Travis Etienne. We all scouted him last year
because we thought he was going to go.
We thought he was going to the NFL. He decided, I'll stay my
did.
senior year. Well, me and Ryan did at least.
Fortunate.
I started scouting too late.
Yeah.
Joke's on you.
But and actually, it worked out for you pretty nicely. So far, he's doing pretty good in the 2020 season as well. He wanted to get that national championship with Clemson this year. That's why he's there. So much to like from him. What do you guys think?
When you look at him, I think he's got that great balance where he can run up the middle, but he's also nifty enough to, make plays on the outside in an open space. So I think Travis Etienne, with this running back group, it's tough. I haven't really formally ranked the running back prospects yet for this year, but he's absolutely in contention to be the number one running back, in my opinion. There's really 1 to 3, I think, are going to be very fluid throughout the season.
I think he decided to stay in his senior year for 2 reasons. 1, he wanted to win a national championship, and 2, he was betting on himself to be the best running back out of this draft class, which I think he can do.
Certainly possible. And you look at the playmaking ability that guy has in open space and the way it's
ridiculous at times
can change a game. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he thinks he has more stuff to prove and he's done good this year, go for it.
I think I nicknamed him Spring, like the Spring, because he just bounces off so many tackles.
Yeah, I think I said he was like slippery or something. I think I remember writing that.
If you guys would let me talk, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, I think that no, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say exactly that. When you think of Travis Etienne, at least in my opinion, the word that comes to mind, like Ryan just said, is slippery.
Springy.
Or springy, as Tyler said. He just cannot be tackled. You can't get him with arm tackles. You've got to throw your body at him. NFL comparison, you can compare him to Alvin Kamara. He's having a good season with the Saints right now, and he's one of those slippery guys too. He works on that balance a lot. You can't bring him down with arm tackles, and if you try to tackle him normally, sometimes he'll break those too. He's a strong and balanced guy. He reminds me of Travis Etienne, just a little NFL comparison.
Yeah, that was a good one as well, because he's doing good in the air so far, Travis Etienne is in this season, so that's exciting. Let's move on to the next guy. We're doing 9 in total. There's plenty more that we'll be talking about later on as we get closer to the draft season, but this is just a little bit of a preview. So, Ryan, you can go next, and we'll talk about this man.
So, my second player, he's the guy that's not, at a, skill position, but this guy is Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon. And when you look at this guy, you might not have heard of him before because he's not, a quarterback. He's not going to, be in Heisman contention. He did opt out. He did opt out, by the way. He opted out before the Pac-12 even came back, so that was his decision. But really, if you roll the tape on him, you see a guy who, for an offensive lineman, he can really have a huge, huge impact. Big frame. He's 6'6", weight 330. So really, really a guy that has, a perfect ability. And for, that size, he's a mobile guy. He can move around. Just look at him. Who's able to move around? It's Penei Sewell. So I'm really, really bummed that we can't watch him more in college. But when you roll the tape and even if you're not looking for him, he'll probably just catch your attention because he is a really good offensive lineman, and he could have that Quentin Nelson-like vibe coming into the draft. He can make that impact. And if there's a top 5
Is he guard or tackle?
I think he's normally plays tackle, but I'm sure they move him around. He could probably play anywhere. He's so good.
Because you mentioned Quentin Nelson, that's why I asked.
Well, yeah, but when you look at Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey was drafted pretty high that year too. I think Quentin Nelson was 6th, McGlinchey was 9th maybe. But it's not every day you hear an offensive lineman in the top 5, top 7 of a mock draft. But just looking at early mock drafts, I've seen him go as high as 3. So this is absolutely a guy where if you have a really bad offensive line and you want to protect your quarterback, like for example, look at the Bengals. If they finish where they could pick top 5, you see how Joe Burrow is getting chased around. Maybe they try and protect Burrow.
Yeah, they got Jonah Williams too.
They do, but
Basically
there's
his
still
rookie
work.
season.
There's still work to do. So I don't know if you get Penei Sewell, so that's
Yeah.
a potential very, very early player to team fit. But yeah, this guy is the best lineman in this class, no doubt. He could very well be a top 5 pick and be that highest lineman drafted we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it seems like the Oregon just kind of is able to groom some nice linemen. It seems like there's always every few years some good linemen coming out of there. He's been the best of the bunch though. Penei Sewell has been amazing. He reminds me, going back from last draft, of a little bit of Jedrick Wills and Tristan Wirfs combined.
Yeah, that should make sense.
Because both those guys went in the first round, but he has traits that both of them had. He has that power, that sheer strength that Jedrick Wills was able to have at the line of scrimmage, where he can move around. He also has that mobility where he can set his feet and move around and be more mobile with it, like Tristan Wirfs. Both of those guys I was high on coming out of last year's draft. He reminds me of both of them. I think he's going to be better than both of them. Yeah, but the question is, can he jump out of a pool? Tristan Wirfs can. If you guys got that joke, then you probably know college football, and I don't know it too much.
Or
but
just
I got
saw
the
the
joke,
clip.
and I made it, or just saw the clip. That's true. Let's roll to the next one, and that is going to be, which one do I want to talk about? I'm going to be talking about Najee Harris right now, out of Alabama, the running back, and I just think that this is a phenomenal running back. Last year, when I was watching Alabama scouting other players like Judy, like Devonta Smith, like Ruggs, or even though I was watching Devonta Smith still, when I was scouting these other people, he's just someone who sticks out like a sore thumb. You're not scouting him, but he just sticks out to you. He's a big guy, he just breaks some tackles. I remember that LSU game, he had a good game. This is one of the guys that I really loved, and as I'm scouting so many other running backs from last year, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I love him, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins. That crew of running backs that came into the NFL last year, they were pretty darn good. But Najee Harris was in that pack with them. I think that he can have the effect that these rookie running backs are having right now. He reminds me a bit of Derrick Henry, which makes sense because Derrick Henry also went to Alabama. He's got that big frame, can knock some people down, and also can do a lot of things as well. So Najee Harris is someone that you definitely need to watch out for this year. I really like what I've seen from him so far. Yeah, there's a lot to like from him. He reminds of another Alabama running back in Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
that's the comparison I see with Najee Harris. Not only that they have similar hairstyles and played at the same college, but it's the same strengths that he can go outside if he needs to, or he can run right up the middle and run some people over. He's got all of it. He's big, but he's also pretty fast for his size.
Yeah.
It impresses me all around.
I'm gonna have a tough time ranking these running backs. I already know that.
It's
you know.
tough last
Yeah.
year, too.
It was, and
Of course, I had Clyde at one.
yeah, it's,
The thing is with the running backs is like they're all so different. I feel like Travis Etienne is more of a bouncy type of guy, and Najee
Yeah.
Harris is the guy that's just gonna
Yeah.
run through you.
go out and
But
run.
both very good in their collective areas.
Yeah, it was. Oh, my turn, right? wait.
Jordan. Well,
No.
Jordan has the last.
Oh,
one,
yeah, you
right?
go with your last one.
Yeah, I'll go with my last one, and this is a different position than we have. None of these guys are going to talk about, but this is a guy that absolutely needs to be talked about. His name is being thrown into the Heisman conversation. He's a tight end. Yes, it's Kyle Pitts out of Florida. He's having a phenomenal season this year. First off, last year with Florida, he had a good season, but coming into this year, wow, has he wowed us just like this Florida team has. I'm not going to say his stats because they're outdated, but let's just say the dude has so many touchdowns, so many yards. It's insane watching him play for the Gators. Kyle Trask and him having a great connection. This is a guy that's probably going to keep climbing up draft boards if he keeps playing like he is, which it looks like he is going to keep playing like he is because he's just so darn good. Big red zone target, can go deep, can really do a lot of things. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be one of the better tight ends we see once he enters the NFL. This is assuming that he does declare this year because he is a junior, but I'm assuming he will because he's just so good.
Yeah, gotta love Kyle Pitts, really. Like, you have to game plan for him like he's a receiver.
And we've seen some good tight ends come out recently. We've seen, like, Noah Fant, stuff like that come out, but this is a guy who's just much higher than them in the season and only just begun.
Yeah, he could be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I got a comparison to him as well. Darren Waller of the Raiders right now. I mean, I think Kyle Pitts could come in the NFL and possibly be at around the top tight ends. That's how quickly he should make an impact with his wide receiver-esque type
'Cause
play, similar to what
He's a
Darren Waller
big and
does.
strong guy, but when you look at him, his frame is not like huge.
Yeah.
He's not like one of those big blocking tight ends you see. He's mobile. He could do it. He could also do this. He could do this, and he could do this.
Yeah, he's a very good blocker.
And we
as
have
well.
this notion that if you don't have a big frame, you cannot do it. But he can, as you said. So just wanted to
Very
point that
much
out.
so, yes. All right, now, yeah, Brian.
Yeah, and I have a player that I want to mention
like this
that
one.
he did opt out, but that's sort of why I wanted to mention him because he really was probably not going to get much attention. You're not going to hear his name other than when people mention that he opted out. So I'm really want to give this guy some love because he's not going to get it during the season, and who knows how it'll affect his draft stock. But this guy is Caleb Farley, the cornerback from Virginia Tech. That's CB, not QB. Just wanted to clarify. But this guy, he's one of the bigger names that opted out, and that is State opted out. And when you look at the race for the number one cornerback spot on, people's draft boards and in the minds of NFL owners and stuff, he really would have been there, in my opinion. But I think because he opted out, we're going to see Patrick Surtain and Sean Wade overtake him. But I think that this is a guy that would have been right in the mix with them and at that same caliber had he played. His stats last year, he's a ball hawk. He can get those interceptions. He can make plays. The ACC wasn't the toughest conference last year, but still 4 interceptions last year, 12 passes defended. So there is really a lot to like about this guy. And, I know he's not going to play, but I still really just wanted to mention him and wanted to tell, whether you're, into college football or whether you actually formally scout players and make a mock draft and stuff, be sure to check out this guy because he does deserve your attention even though he's not playing. 6'2", 207. It's not maybe the biggest guy, but he is definitely a guy that should be on your radar and just a guy that I wanted to quickly mention because I really think he would have been in that race for the number one cornerback spot had he been playing. Chose not to. Respect that, but remember his name in April.
Yeah, and this is another guy I want to talk about who unfortunately will not be playing this year.
Yeah.
And that's Micah Parsons with Penn State. He had such a good career with Penn State for a long time. Sometimes you see short spans with people with Penn State, but no, he did his entire career out there, and it's unfortunate that it's over. And even when the Big Ten comes back, it's unfortunate he's not going to be there. But he's a guy where you look at him and you can see he controlled that defense, even though we're not going to see him this year. There was so much to like, and I still think he's going to be a very high draft pick. I think he knows that as well. But the command of the defense he takes, his just ideals for knowing what's going to happen before it happens. It's so much to like. His vision is amazing. All around, Micah Parsons is the guy that impressed me when I wasn't even looking for him last year because I was scouting other players on Penn State. But he stands out in so many ways. I would want to say I think he would be. I would like to see him on the Packers. I don't think he's going to fall that far.
No.
But I think that would be a good fit with the young players they have. And I think he would fit in very well there. Unfortunately, the Packers are probably going to be drafting too low. But he's not going to fall there.
I think a great fit for him would be Carolina. Because remember, they passed on Isaiah Simmons. So I think maybe... I know they went all defense, last draft. But what's one more when you have a guy like Micah Parsons available there? So early, potential suitor for him to watch for. I think Carolina would do great with him, especially after passing on Simmons in this past draft.
And I also just wanted to add, Tyler said as well, but I just needed to feel the need to emphasize it, that he said when he was watching Penn State last year, he stuck out. And when I was watching Penn State last year, the same thing happened. He stuck out, watching your Turgos, Matos, John Reed, those other guys on Penn State. He's this guy who just stand out to you. And it just came to a point where it was like, okay, do I need to start scouting this guy? Who is he? Because I didn't have him written down. I looked it up.
Know.
Micah Parsons, okay, he's not eligible yet because he was only a sophomore last year. He's a junior this year. He won't be playing this year. But he was just someone that I was forced to look at. And, so he really stood out. A lot of these guys standing out.
All right, so that's all we got. There are plenty more that we didn't talk about. So if we didn't talk about one of your favorite players, I'm sorry. We will talk about them when we get close to the draft season. We will make sure to do that.
Who is your favorite player?
Yeah.
Put it in the comments.
Who is your favorite player? Who did we miss out? Comment that down below. Make sure to like this video. Subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell. Like we said, comment down below.
Go check out our podcast.
Go check out our podcast. We talk about NFL and some college football. And with that, we will see you guys later.
See ya.